The Brussels massacre was an anti-Semitic episode in Brussels in 1370 in connection with an alleged host desecration at the Brussels synagogue. A number of Jews, variously given as 6 or about 20, were executed or otherwise killed, while the rest of the small community was banished. The event was commemorated by local Christians as the Sacrament of Miracle, as it was said that the desecrated host stabbed by a Jew had miraculously shed blood and been otherwise unharmed. The cult of the putative miracle survived until after the Second World War. Background: Black Death. Jewish persecutions had previously destroyed Brussels community in 1350. Host desecration was a common anti-Semitic canard in medieval Europe, and the wafers the Jews were supposed to have tried to profane were often said to have been miraculously spared from harm. In 1369, 2 priests in Brussels were arrested for usury and turned over to the ecclesiastical tribunal of the Church of Saints Michael and Gudula for investigation. It transpired that they had attempted to circumvent usury prohibitions by lending money to a Jew named Mesterman, who in turn lent it out at interest. The clerical usury scandal in Brussels was the immediate context of the accusations of host desecration. According to Premonstratensian historian Placide Lefebvre, contemporary treasury records indicate that there were 8 Jewish households in Brussels and 2 in Leuven. Allegations. The version of the allegations attested from 1403 was that a rich Jew from Enghien wanted to obtain some consecrated hosts to profane, and bribed a male Jewish convert to Christianity from a Leuven to steal some. Shortly thereafter, the Enghien merchant was murdered. His widow passed the stolen host to the Jews of Brussels, where in the synagogue on Good Friday 1370 some tried to stab the wafers with their daggers, causing blood to pour forth. A female Jewish convert to Christianity was paid to take the host to Cologne's Jews, but remorsefully told the story to the parson of Notre-Dame-de-la Chapelle in Brussels, who took possession of the hosts. The Duke of Brabant, on the woman's testimony, ordered the stabbers burnt at the stake and the remaining Jews banished, with the property confiscated. Cult of the Miracle. The hosts were placed in reliquaries and preserved in the chapel of St. Gudula, the patron saint of Brussels, an important symbol of the area's Catholic identity. They became a feature of the annual procession on her feast day. 10 stained glass windows depicting the putative miracle were donated to the chapel in the 16th century by Emperor Charles V. This compared perceived Jewish anti-Catholicism to the nascent Protestant Reformation, with the miraculous bleeding countering Protestant denials of transubstantiation. In the early 1580s, during a period of Calvinist rule in Brussels, all Catholic ceremonies were suppressed. From 1579 to 1585 the relics had been hidden in a house in the Court Ridderstraat. After the end of Calvinist rule in 1585, a procession of citizens and office holders had retrieved the hosts and carried them back to the church. The re-emergence of the cult in 1585 was primarily as a celebration of the end of Calvinist rule. The Archdukes Albert and Isabella, who ruled in Brussels 1598 to 1621, made the annual procession a state occasion. The Blessed Sacrament of Miracles had emerged as doubly miraculous after the end of Calvinist rule in Brussels in 1585, when it became clear that the sacred hosts had survived intact. The annual procession in honor of the sacrament now became as much a commemoration of the second anti-Calvinist miracle as of the first anti-Semitic one, and, after their accession, the archdukes conscientiously attended the procession every year while also turning it into a veritable state event. 5 windows added in the 19th century depict the development of the cult of the miracle. These were donated by Belgian kings Leopold I and Leopold II and other nobles, this time linking the miracle to the contemporary Catholic opposition to secularism. The 1870 quincentenary of the miracle was marked with celebrations. Retraction. After the Second World War, in light of the mass murder of Belgian Jews during the Holocaust, the anti-Semitic elements of the cult were de-emphasized. In 1968, in the wake of Nostra Aetate issued by the Second Vatican Council, the Archdiocese of Mechelen-Brussels officially de-recognized the cult. In 1977, Cardinal Leo Joseph Swainins installed a plaque in the cathedral to highlight this. On November 16, 2006, at the inauguration of the exhibit Menorah in the cathedral by Jean-Paul Leon, presented by the Jewish Museum of Belgium, Monsignor de Kessel addressed the attendees and Albert Guigui as chief rabbi of the Great Synagogue of Europe and apologized for the commemoration of the Brussels massacre on the windows of the cathedral. The former chapel of St. Gudula is now the Cathedral Museum, displaying its treasures, including the former reliquaries, with contextual information.